Hell's Gate National Park, Kenya. What caused the park's most popular attraction to close? Will our bikes from the 90s hold up the entire ride? What iconic character from our childhood died here? Are zebras afraid of bike riders? Is this really a gate to hell? Find out in this episode of Psychopaths.
So we cycled in the rain because we are psychopaths!
So today we're here at Hell's Gate. It's a park in Naivasha, Kenya. And it's a place where you can ride within a park that has animals. So hopefully we see some animals today, maybe some giraffes, zebras, gazelles. I'm not really sure. I didn't really look too much into it. But we have a guide who's going to show us around today, and hopefully it's a good time. Today I'm riding with Watiri, who's been the best tour guide, who's taken me to so many amazing places in Kenya. We've been warned by some friends that the bikes that Hell's Gate rents directly are not very good, so we hired a guide and rented our bikes from Skelly Adventures. Despite bringing our own bikes in, Hell's Gate still charges a fee of 215 Kenyan shillings per bike. This is in addition to the entrance fees, which is 300 Kenyan shillings for residents and $26 for non-residents. For our route today, we had two options. One was to do an out and back that is 8 kilometers each way, and the other would be a loop that includes a 14-kilometer route followed by the same 8 kilometers back. To maximize our experience, we chose the loop and got going. We started at the Elsa Gate and made our way into the park. In my opinion, some of the best views were right at the beginning. Hell's Gate is part of the Great Rift Valley and is named after its intense geothermal activity, which we'll see more of later. Instantly, we began seeing zebras, warthogs, and some other animals off in the distance. As we rode, I noticed the gravel road was littered with obsidian that used to be used for making tools and weapons, which is just part of the rich history here at Hell's Gate. The first stop, which is at the fork between the two route options, is Fisher's Tower, a popular rock climbing destination within the park. It was named after an early German explorer, Dr. Gustav Fischer, who was killed by the Maasai tribe after they saw him as a threat for being around this sacred stone tower. The Maasai saw this tower as one of their ladies, who left her home to marry a man from another tribe, which goes against tradition. As she was betraying her tribe, she looked back towards her home and she turned to stone. This story is shared with young Maasai girls to keep them from leaving the tribe. And if you view this tower from the right angle, you can see what looks like a human face. Opposite of Fisher's Tower is another tower which inspired Pride Rock in The Lion King.
Look, Simba. Everything the light touches is our kingdom.
Wow, this'll all be mine?
Hell's Gate actually has several locations that offered inspiration for The Lion King, and is also a location to several other films such as Out of Africa, A White Maasai, and Born Free, a movie from the 60s about a couple who raised an orphan lion cub. While on our route, we came across several animals, including zebras, wildebeest, giraffes, gazelles, and pumbas. And yes, most Kenyans call the warthogs pumba, which means stupid in Swahili, though I'm told that the wildebeests are even less intelligent. I have noticed that guides don't seem to wear helmets anywhere in Kenya, but big shout out to this guide for carrying our water in one hand while riding with the other hand for the first half of the ride. This climb's actually pretty brutal. It's just a road, but it's very sandy in all the low spots, so you gotta watch where you're going. And even when you do, you'll find a unexpected spot of loose sand and lose your speed, lose your traction. But I think we're towards the top now. We might have to go up a little more, but we'll see. The day was also pretty hot, but we were lucky that it was partially cloudy.
Oh my. Walk of shame. Oh my.
Not easy at all.
No, I have been cycling, as you can see. Woohoo.
In Kenya, it's not easy to source bicycles at a reasonable price. So what we were told is that drivers will take a truck full of people to Uganda, but if they come back over the border with more than a few bikes in the truck, they might get questioned. So instead, they have the group of people ride the bikes back over the border and then pick them back up to drive back to the other areas of Kenya. I saw a dick.
You did?
Yeah.
Did you see it start now?
No.
What?
It must have been around close by though.
Most likely. They all live together. All live together.
It ran away.
Like you and I.
I didn't get a good shot of the dick, but it is an animal I learned quite a bit about on this trip. I'm told that they partner for life, so if you see a female, the male is nearby, and vice versa. And when one of them dies, the other one will die as well. At several points along our journey, we got great views of Mount Longonot as well as Lake Naivasha.
Caperton viewpoint. We made it. Congratulations, Andy. I'll circle back.
At the Caperton Overlook, we saw a large group of Maasai cows.
I'm heading there.
I'm pretty sure that these are Watiri's favorite animal. It's either chimpanzees or cows. I'm not really sure. So today I'm riding this Kona Tiki. You know what I've seen, this is about an average rental bike here in Kenya. It's pretty old, it's pretty tired as far as the suspension goes, but I will say this bike does seem to be pretty well maintained in terms of the brakes and the drivetrain. This here gives me PTSD though, for sure. Watiri's riding the giant Rock 5200. Watiri, how do you like your bike?
I love it. It's comfortable and it suits my height and it's easy to use for.
At the sandal.
Yeah.
Sandal is very good.
And it shifts better than the other one?
Yes, it does. Absolutely.
That's it.
And our guide is riding the Trek 4300, which was the second mountain bike I ever owned. So I used to ride this bike. Since we made it to the top, we obviously get to make our way down now, which was actually pretty sketchy because the road is made of very loose sand and rocks. He said we gotta go slow because it's really soft. Watiri and I both had to take it slow since our front and back tires were washing out the entire way. The downhill led us to the geothermal power plant. About half of Kenya's energy is produced using geothermal, and they have a goal to utilize this resource more in the future. Releasing the gases from the geothermal activity also keeps the volcanic activity dormant. Once we got near the power plant, we switched to a paved road. At one of the power stations, we came across a herd of sheep, which is pretty common anywhere in the country. Along the road, there was a cement drainage ditch, and I couldn't help but ride it at least once. The guide did not like this. On that? No. We didn't see any other animals along the paved road until the end, where there were some colobus monkeys. We are now at the Old Giraffes Gorge for a hike. Unfortunately, the main gorge is closed due to flash flooding incidences, but there's still a lot to see along the hike we were able to do. The first thing is a small creek that is actually runoff from the geothermal plant. Basically, through the process, they release both dry and wet gases. The dry gases are what rise through the turbines and generate electricity. The wet gas is then left to return to the earth. So this creek is full of gas and is harmful to drink, so you won't see any animals near it. We also came across some sage trees and the thorn whistling acacia tree.
Andy, do you know about this kind of tree?
No.
We call thorn whistling acacia tree. They say whistle, it whistles because of these oars you see here. Maybe at silent night you can hear, you can whistle. That's why it's called thorn whistling acacia tree. Actually the giraffe like it more.
Exactly.
And it's sometimes some guys call it giraffe tree.
Yes.
So the time giraffe come and try to hit, you see there's ants come.
Yeah.
Those ants comes through. So this ant, the giraffe will not continue eating it because of the ants. So it will leave the tree.
Yeah.
So the tree is being protected by the ants. The tree, it gives the ant the house. So they have one relationship, common relationship.
But the giraffe will also eat the
symbiotic
thorn.
relationship.
Oh.
Yeah, it eats. You see, it eats like this.
Oh.
This is the work of giraffe.
Symbiotic relationship.
After a short walk, we found our way to a small gorge. Much smaller than the main gorge, but still cool to check out. It even has a volcanic hot spring inside.
Oh my god. For real, people, it's hot. Wow, beautiful.
From the small gorge, it's a short hike up to a viewpoint of the large gorge, the filming location of Tomb Raider, the Cradle of Life. The gorge is currently closed because there have been several deaths here over the years. A church group had been swept away by a flash flood in 2012, and 6 tourists and their guide also died in a flash flood in 2019. And this is also the gorge where Mufasa died.
Long live the king.
But I don't think that actually has to do with the gorge being closed. On our way back to the trailhead, we stopped by a small Maasai market. I had done my souvenir shopping already, but Watiri will take any chance she can get to shop, especially when it benefits the tribes who use the money to pay for the tribe's children to go to school. I did, however, buy a Coca-Cola here as a midpoint snack. Alright, so after a 7-month drought, it is raining here in Naivasha, and it just happens to be while we're in the middle of our mountain bike ride, so I kind of hope that it doesn't last the whole time, but I know they need the rain here. Before the ride back, we met up with another rider with the same company who had a flat. So while we waited out the rain, we stayed with him as we waited for a guide to come replace the tube. The rain didn't stop completely, but once it let up a bit, we started our ride back so that we didn't have any water buffalo encounters, as the guides generally know their patterns, and they would soon cross the road that we needed to travel on. we're all riding back to the gate together because there's buffaloes, and that's one of the, it's a very dangerous animal, especially for here. It's probably the most dangerous, so we're just riding together just in case. Since we didn't have room to carry Watiri's jewelry, you can see she just ended up wearing it for the rest of the ride.
It actually looks good.
The 8-kilometer route is much more flat and was a nice ride back, except for Watiri's bike having a slight malfunction. Actually a pretty big one. Her derailleur got caught in the spokes, and it took us a few minutes to get it out and bent back into a usable position. Despite this, we did have a great finish to the ride. We saw lots of animals. Watiri got to reenact a music video that was filmed here.
Nowhere be like Africa, nowhere be like home.
And we were greeted by some baboons on our way out of the park. Hell's Gate was definitely a highlight for me during my trip to Kenya.
I didn't film it.
We made it, we made it. Come here, Bernard, come. Yeah, this was our guide for today, Bernard. Thank you so much, that was amazing. Yeah. Well, tell us more about your company.
So we rent bicycles.
Yeah.
And also we do the tour around
tour
the park.
Around
the park, Hell's Gate National Park.
Oh, cool.
So you can cycle more than 50 kilometers inside the park.
Inside the park. Oh, that was pretty interesting. I am Kenyan and I never thought about doing this. Every time we come to Naivasha, so this was pretty interesting. It was absolutely affordable, $26 for non-residents, $300 for Kenyan citizens, and $215 to ride in with your bicycle. You get to see lots of animals. You get to see where we generate electricity for Kenya, and geothermal, and it's completely safe. The animals, the people are friendly. It was absolutely amazing. And today was also good because it rained finally in many months, and
the weather favored.
The weather really did favor us, And currently the gorge is closed, the main one, but it's going to be open soon. We've had some incidences, so hopefully we are going to open it back soon and you can walk into the gorge. But there's a small gorge, you can walk in there and there is a lot you can see. I won't tell you about it so that you can come. Andy, did you have a good time?
I had a good time.
Oh, perfect. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much and keep safe. Bye.
Bye.